Good evening, everybody. Two continents, two championships, one absolutely unhinged weekend as MotoGP lit up Austin with record-breaking qualifying session, a controversial sprint, and Grand Prix that flipped the standings. Plus, MotoAmerica's future stars went to war in Austin, Texas during the Talent Cup, while the Harley-Davidson Bagger World Cup delivered big twin chaos. Over in Portugal, World Superbike and World Supersport turned Portimao into a masterclass in precision and pain. Plus, the Women's World Cup got underway with the World Championships. I'm the Rainman, Kenny Abbott, and this is Exhaust Noise on CVN. Thanks for hanging out with us. Exhaust Noise is powered by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Whether you're racing, wrenching, or just riding, AMSOIL delivers the protection champions trust. Welcome back, everybody. This is Exhaust Noise on Cyclovision Network. Let's talk MotoGP at COTA in Austin, Texas. We had record-breaking qualifying session. Pole position went to Fabio Di Giannantonio from the VR46 Ducati team, 2 minutes, 1:36. And so that's a new record for pole position, all-time COTA lap record. The fastest lap of the weekend, however, went to Ogura on the Trackhouse Aprilia, a 2:02.037. So that was the fastest lap during the race. And then the fastest lap, the next fastest lap went to Marc Marquez, 2:02.221. So again, the records were Fabio on the Ducati went 2 minutes, 1:36. That was the fastest qualifying time that sets a new record. And then the fastest lap of the race went to Ogura, 2:02.037. The next fastest lap was Marc Marquez, a 2:02.221. So both Marquez and Ogura in the 2:02 range. And so anyway, those are the three fastest laps of the weekend. The front row was set, as we mentioned. Di Giannantonio was on pole position. Jorge Martin was next to him in the middle of the front row, and Marco Bezzecchi rounded out the front row on the Ducati. So that was fun. The win in Saturday's sprint race, however, went to Jorge Martin. An incredible final lap on the Aprilia. Marc Marquez took out Digia on the first lap, so he actually earned a long lap penalty for Sunday's race. Literally, first lap, Marc goes to make an inside pass, loses the front, takes out Digia. They're both out. Acosta showed podium pace, but finished just outside the top three. And then Bezzecchi looked really sharp. He just wasn't able to get all the way to the front. So we get to Sunday's race. Marco Bezzecchi took the win on the factory Aprilia, just ahead of his teammate Jorge Martin, who was coming at the end, one of the only riders that chose a medium rear tire, and it proved for a good fast lap on Sunday. It was Pedro Acosta on the Red Bull KTM factory machine that got to third, so he filled out the final podium spot there on that Red Bull KTM. So two factory Aprilias, then the Red Bull KTM, then Fabio Di Giannantonio on the VR46 Ducati. So the best Ducati of the day was Digia on the VR46 Ducati. Marc Marquez then was fifth. And honestly, this was one of the races where all of the experts who follow the GP, who are at the GP week in, week out, they all thought, well, Thailand had weird weather and they were using a special tire there and it was really hot. And maybe the Aprilias just worked really good on that super hard tire that they used there. And everybody was sort of getting used to the new bikes and weird weather and stuff like that. And then they get to Brazil with similar scenario, rain in and out, track coming apart, totally different tire than anybody runs anywhere else, a super hard, stiff carcass. Maybe that works really well for the Aprilias, and everybody thought, well, maybe round 3 at COTA will be when we see Marc Marquez kind of break out, and that'll sort of be the outlier. And we get to COTA, a place where Marc Marquez is always really fast, has good results, but he hasn't really done anything since 2021, 2022. He's crashed out. He's had mechanicals. He's had issues. So everyone thought, well, this is going to be a race for Marquez. He crashes the first day, takes out Digio in the sprint race. And even though at the end of the race on Sunday, he had a really, really good race with Bastianini and Bagnaia, who ended up finishing 10th. But in the closing laps, it was they all looked really, really good, and Marquez was able to make some distance on those guys and had some good passes. But he ends up 5th, and of course he had to serve the long lap penalty. But still, you serve the long lap penalty. I'm not sure that he would have still got on the podium. He did have the fastest lap of the race. Again, we mentioned he was just a couple tenths off what Ogura did on in the previous day's race, but he still finished 5th. So he comes out with some good points, but he's pretty far back from Bezzecchi. I think 36, 37 points back from Bezzecchi in the championship. We'll get to that in a second. So Marc Marquez finishes 5th as they head to Jerez in a few weeks. As we mentioned in previous podcasts, the round in the Middle East was canceled. So it's been moved, but they may not run it at all. So there's about 3 or 4 weeks now between now and the next race in Europe. So it gives everybody time to get back to Europe and get settled in. And so the next round will be at Jerez. So now everybody's saying, well, we'll see what happens at Jerez. If Marc Marquez still can't get up to speed at Jerez, then maybe there's something to the Aprilias maybe being the best bikes on the grid. One very specific thing that you can watch is if you watch the Aprilias and you lay these guys, I've seen some of the videos where they lay the Ducati and the Aprilias over each other in the video, and the Aprilia is just turning better and it's gapping off the corner better than the Ducati is. So maybe the Aprilia is significantly faster, but again, it comes back to, is it the confidence? Is it how they set it up? Was it the tire? All these other things. So I think that once everybody gets to Europe and starts to get to the typical tire and back to tracks that they know and good weather, we'll see if it changes any of the results. But all that being said, the two factory Aprilias of Bezzecchi and Martin have been outstanding no matter what. You can't take that away from them. They lead the championship now. We'll run through the rest of the top 10. So Bezzecchi, Martin, 1, 2. Pedro Acosta on the Red Bull KTM was 3rd. Gianantonio was 4th. Marc Marquez 5th. Bastianini was 6th on the KTM Tech 3 machine. Alex Marquez had a good finish on the Gresini Ducati in 7th. Raul Fernandez on the Trackhouse Aprilia was 8th. Luca Marini was 9th on the HRC Castrol Honda. And Francesco Bagnaia was 10th on the Ducati. All that being said, it was Ogura that had a really good race. Ogura could have possibly finished on the podium. He had a mechanical at the very end of the race, and he pulled in. He did not finish. Crashes. Joan Mir crashed again on the Honda. I heard some statistics, and it's like 36 out of 70 something races he's crashed in the last however many years. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't know where they start to cut him off. But top 3 in the championship now after 3 rounds: Marco Bezzecchi with 81 points, Jorge Martin with 77, so only 4 points away, and then Pedro Acosta up to 3rd with 60 points. There's, he's still quite a ways off, and then Marquez is back quite a bit. In the Moto2 championship, Moto2 comes back, so a good round for Joe Roberts, at least you would hope. So in the Moto2 championship results, which was shortened to only 10 laps after a red flag, the Moto2 and Moto3 races just red flags. But it was Senna Agius on the Moto on the Liqui Moly Kalex. He finished first with Vietti in second, Guevara on the Yamaha VR46 Master Camp bike third, David Alonso on the CF Moto was fourth, and Manuel Gonzalez was fifth. As I mentioned, there was a massive multi-rider crash in turn 11, which triggered a red flag, and they shortened the race. Roberts recovered from all that. He was actually involved in that crash with several other riders. He was able to recover from that and finish P9. So a decent result for Joe Roberts, breaking into the top 10 in his home GP. So that was good. Moto 3 race, it was Guido Pini on the Leopard Racing Honda. He took his first Moto 3 victory, won by 0.056 seconds in the last corner shootout. The podium had Pini on the Leopard Racing Honda, Maximo Chiles on the CF Moto, so another CF Moto, good result for him. And then Alvaro Carpe on the Red Bull KTM. It was funny. The third place rider, Alvaro Carpe, this is how close the entire race was. The top three riders, so from first to third, it was 0.254 seconds. So third place finished only 0.254 behind the winner, who won by 0.056 over Chile. So super, super close race. The battle was four-way battle all the way to the checkered flag. Casey O'Gorman crashed out with 3 laps to go. He was in the race there for a while. Esteban was taken out after the high side by Portimão. And then Pini actually becomes the first Italian Moto 3 winner since 2022. Doesn't that seem crazy that Pini's the first Italian in Moto 3, a championship that's made up mostly of Spanish and Italian riders, and Pini's the first Italian to win a Moto 3 race since 2022. Kind of crazy, but there you go. Also at COTA, they ran a couple MotoAmerica style classes. Of course, the Talent Cup was there. They had 2 races, and then we'll get to the World Bagger race as well. In race 1, it was Nathan Gauker who makes his way back from Europe. He's riding for Dale Quarterly on the Quarterly Racing Kramer. Of course, the Talent Cup is made up of all Kramer APX 350 MAs. So Gauker was the winner. Kensei Kensei Matsudaira from Team Roberts in the classic yellow and black and white Team Roberts apparel. It was so cool. Jake Page, the older brother of Bodie Page, rounded out the podium in race 1. He's riding for Team Hammer. And then it was Sam Drain on the Yamaha Blue Crew, Essison Racing, 4th. And then Rossi Garcia from Rossi Motorsports, 5th. And that was all in race 1. Top 4 riders all separated by 0.526 seconds. It was such a close race all the way to the finish. Clean, aggressive race with multiple lead changes, which leads us to race number 2. It was Kensei Matsudaira on the Team Roberts bike that takes the win on Sunday, moving Gauker back to 2nd on the Quarterly Racing machine. Sam Drain moves up to 3rd. Jake Page was 4th, and Rossi Garcia 5th. So same 5 riders, just shuffle the order from Saturday to Sunday. Over 30 lead changes in the final laps. So in the final few laps, over 30 lead changes. Just an amazing race. And Matsudaira wins by 0.236 seconds in that race on Sunday. The championship leaves COTA with Matsudaira and Gauker tied for the lead in points. And then Page and Drain tied for 2nd, which really is 3rd, because Matsudaira and Gauker are 1, 2, and then Page and Drain are 3rd, 4th. But they're tied for 1st and they're tied for 3rd. So that was pretty fun. From the kids to the big twins, the Harley-Davidson Bagger World Cup was at COTA. Now, here's what's interesting is at the MotoAmerica, the baggers are all prepared separately by the race teams. They all have their own budget. They have their own parts. They put everything together with all their own stuff. The World Cup baggers are all spec. They're all exactly the same. And they actually draw or drew for which bike they would have, and then they put their custom bodywork on that bike. Make sense? So all the bikes are the same, and they drew, and then they tested. They had a chance to set them all up, and they put all their own bodywork and stuff on them. So it was Oscar Gutierrez from the Needy Racing Harley Davidson team. He won race. He won that race there by 3.020 seconds, so which is a pretty decent lead for these guys. He sets a new lap record for the class, 2.12358. So he ran a 2:12.358, so about 10 seconds off the pace of the MotoGP bikes. They were running 2:02s in the race. So Oscar Gutierrez wins by 3 seconds. It was Eric Granado on the Joe Rascal Racing Harley Davidson second. Archie McDonald on the Joe Rascal Racing Harley Davidson third. He was actually penalized 3 seconds. Jake Lewis on the Saddleman Racing bike was fourth. Corey West was fifth on the other Saddleman Racing bike. And then Cody Wyman was supposed to be riding for Joe Rascal as well. He did not start. So leaving this round, McDonald leads the championship with 41 points as they make their way to, I think they've had one round, 2 rounds. They had a round somewhere else as well. Anyway, it's Joe McDonald that leads with 41 points. You know, honestly, I thought that the Americans would have just dominated that. So it's interesting that, that the Needy Harley Davidson and Joe Rascal Harley Davidsons came out well above the Saddleman Racing guys. But that being said, the rest of the field that we normally have in MotoAmerica wasn't in that race. So maybe that would have changed things up a little bit, you know, getting some of the other guys in there. Hard to tell. Anyway, let's change it up and go across the pond to World Superbike in Portimao, Portugal. They call it the roller coaster. Race 1 was Nicola Bulega. Don't know why anyone thought it would be any different on the Aruba.it Ducati. His teammate, Lucuona, was second place. So Iker, Lucuona, and Bulega continue to dominate. They dominated testing, and they dominated round 1. Here we are back at Portimao, and they are dominating again. The previous MotoGP rider, Miguel Oliveira, on the Rocket BMW was third. He was showing really good speed and some really good racing. Oliveira was mixing it up front with Bulega for a while, and then he dropped back. Lucuona came up. He was battling with Lucuona for a while, and Lucuona was able to move up. Oliveira had to settle for third place on that BMW. On Saturday on the Super Pole race, it was Bulega again on the Ducati that took the win over Lucuona, and Miguel Oliveira was third. And then we get to race 2 on Sunday. Same scenario: Bulega, Lucuona, Oliveira, and then Alex Lowe's on the Bimota by Kawasaki was fourth. Sam Lowe's, his brother, on the Elfmark VDS Ducati was fifth. Bulega completes a perfect hat trick. Oliveira takes 3 straight podiums at home. Gerloff crashed in turn 15, so he didn't finish. So that's the championship is exactly that. It looks the same. Bulega, Lucuona, Oliveira, World Superbike. Supersport race at Portimao. Valentin Debise stepping it up on the ZX Moto Evans brother machine. He took the win in race number 1 and 2. It was Masia on the Orlac Ducati, second on day 1 and 2. It was Lucas Mias on the GMT 94 Yamaha who finished third in race 1 on Saturday. Race 2, it was Albert Arenas on the AS Blue Crew Racing Yamaha YZF R9. So Debise and Masia just dominating at the top, 1-2 both in both races. Mayas and Arenas traded for third place following the other 2. The FIM World's Cup debuted at Portimao this year. It was Maria Herrera on the Terra Vita GTR team who took the win. Paulo Ramos on the Clint Racing Yamaha was second, and Beatriz Nila was third. She's on the Ampido Crescent Yamaha. Mallory Dobbs was there as well. She finished 23rd. Let me scoot this over a little bit here. Yeah, Mallory Dobbs was 23rd in the race, and she didn't finish in race number 2, so she did not have a great weekend. She's, of course, the series have spec Yamaha RZF R7s, so they're all prepared basically the same, and then they make some small adjustments. Race 2 had Ramos, Herrera, Nila, and again, Mallory Dobbs not listed. She was not classified on Sunday because she did not finish. So a down weekend for Mallory Dobbs. Tonight's episode brought to you by 2 a.m. Tacos, the official late night fuel of CycleVision Network. When racing ends, the tacos begin. MotoGP leaves Texas with a new championship leader. MotoAmerica's future stars put on a show, and baggers brought the thunder. And World Superbike leaves Portugal with Ducati domination and BMW breakthrough. I'm the Rainman, Kenny Abbott, and this is exhaust noise. Now it's time to gear up, head out, and ride safe, everybody. We'll see you next time.